You are now tuned in, exploring the poetic depths of ancient metaphysics with Rev Sahai, the poetic metaphysician. Spell-breaking, mind-shaking, soul reclamation. Sahaja the doctor, the healing one. Sahaja says.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Sundays with Sahaja. I am your lovely host, Reverend Dr. Sahaja L. And as always, before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell so that you can be the first to know and grow. Today, I want to talk about a conversation that exploded on all my other channels, all my other platforms, rather. So if you're not on my IG, if you're not on my TT or my FB, then you may have missed it. But although I do have a longer form of it on my YouTube subscription, so you can go to my channel and see where it all got started. But the conversation over on the Clock app, over on IG, it got really intimate. It proposed a lot of conversations in the comments, and I appreciate the love, I appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate the opportunity to help people understand what they've been dealing with. Because at the opening of that video, my opening statement was that schizophrenia is not a mental illness. And I want to take today's Sundays with Sahaja episode to expound on that so that we don't leave with any misconceptions. The first thing that I want to do is break down what I mean by mental illness. This is not a medical claim. I'm not giving you medical advice. Please continue to take your medicine. Rev Sahaja will never tell you to do that. I am a metaphysical healing practitioner. I help you understand the spiritual aspect of where you mentally and physically are at. What is happening to you spiritually that is so chaotic, so dense, so unclear that it is forming itself and projecting to you physically? That is what I do. Okay? So that's the first thing that I want to clear up. As always, though, because I got another message and it seemed to have triggered some people. And I don't apologize for how my message hits you, because in the beginning I have always said Rev Sahaja gonna trigger the hell out you, because I'm trying to trigger that hell about you. So if you can't handle the heat, please leave. Okay? But this individual, there was a lot of unresolved trauma that came up in the things that I talk about. This person let me know that it, in so many words, made them feel a way that I incorporate the metaphysics of religion into the things that I teach and say. But the second misconception that I want to clear up on this episode is that the Bible is not literal. The Bible, because we live in the third dimension, there is a split in consciousness. This is what we call the law of polarity. This is what we call duality. We think that there is an up or a down. You can either be good or you can be bad. You can either be right or you can be wrong. There's a split. So there's a level of extremism that correlates with that. So people think that religion is only to be defined literally. They think that when I, in other metaphysicians, speak of Jesus or Muhammad, Buddha, or all of these other entities, personifications of the divine feminine. That's all they are. Jesus, I did a whole video on my channel, guys, on Jesus being a personification of the divine feminine. Some people think this means it was an actual man. Some people understand that Jesus was just consciousness in written form. And that written form happened to be presented to us or delivered through the Bible. Okay? What I do, what I have built my entire identity upon is breaking the narcissistic spells on our consciousness that were embedded through religion. I'm not teaching you religion. I am teaching you the spiritual aspect of it. I am teaching you the science that is embedded in these books. If Jesus was anything, bro was a scientist. Bro wasn't just out here saying, follow me or you going to hell and shit. Okay? It's Sunday. Excuse my language. But I just want to clear that up. Because in a minute, I'm going to bring up a scripture. And I want you to understand how it relates to what I'm talking to. We're about to dive into the metaphysics of psychology here as it relates to mental illness. First, I want to state, when we look at the word mental illness, illness, ILL, we were taught in elementary school, is a contraction that expands into I will. Now, if you say, I will do something, I will, I'll try, that means you haven't done it. You haven't achieved it. You haven't mastered it. It is not within you. But you're going to go somewhere and try to get it. But when you are the I am, when you embody it, then it's just that. You and it are one. You are in alignment. You are a walking spell. You are a walking wand. When God said, let there be light, and there was light, that light was you, and you were the God that saw it through. So mental illness is a state of lack. If anybody is familiar, if this is your first time here, welcome. Welcome. Rev Sahaja is unorthodox. She is not your mama them pastor. Okay? Understand what I'm saying here. Narcissism, as I have coined the term, is a result of a disconnect from your spirit. Let's break it down again, people. Let's break it down again. Who knows how to expand the word narcissist? Think of it phonetically. You get two meanings. You get the narc and you get the ISIS. Anywhere you see the IS, ISI, ISIS, you're talking about Isis. You're talking about the divine feminine. You're talking about the mother goddess. You are talking about spirit. The narc or the narcotic is the disconnect. People do extracurricular activities because they are trying to disconnect from their reality and go somewhere else. So the mental illness or the mental I will is just not the I am. There's distortion somewhere. And that distortion, as I have constantly said, is due to the epigenetic effects of trauma. So what science has done, what psychology has done, and this is not to make any claims on the field. No, I am not a psychologist. I am not an MD. I'm a doctor of metaphysics. Metaphysics ties the spiritual, aka occult, indigenous cultures, the things that we knew before Western civilizations. It ties that into the knowledge that these people spend most of their life trying to understand. And we just carry it in our DNA. which is why they use the narcissistic frequency to attack the DNA so that you can forget and you will value more so their explanation of it. So they get to tell you crazy. They get to tell you that you need medicine. But medicine without understanding is not healing. It is numbness. And guess what the root word narc means etymologically? Narc is the narcos, which is the flower that gives you a numbing effect. How do they build these amnesias and these other types of drugs? They build it from plants so that it can numb you, so that they can embed whatever program they want to up in your head. Again, Rev Sahaja is not saying don't take your medicine. Please take your medicine. What time was you supposed to take it today? Check. 12 o'clock? 12:30? What time is it right now? Take your medicine. Okay? I don't want nobody saying, Rev Sahaja is saying, mental illness ain't real. We all cure. We all fine and dandy. No, baby. I'm just helping you understand so you don't continue to walk around thinking you crazy. I believe everything you say is going on in your head. I believe everything people say is going on with them. Because that's why it's called a universe. Let me get to it. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't want to ramble. I'm not going to waste your time. This ain't your mom and them church. But I want to put something on the screen because the Bible really breaks down the law of what this means. Because the video that I'm referring to on my other platforms, I dive into how schizophrenia is connected to the 72 pillars of consciousness. Now, the 72 is a significant number. We find it in Jewish occult mysticism, Christian mysticism. Christian mysticism. There are Christian mystics. We're talking about esotericism here. We are talking about indigenous knowledge that they took over there and disconnected us from it. Because then they came over here and gave us some other shit. Now, this is also in Gnosticism. And it is found in our banking system as the rule of 72. But we're not going to dive into that too much today. But I just want to give y'all the significance in the different personifications of this number so that you can understand the significance of why I'm breaking it down or why I'm using it to give you this understanding of mental illness versus the I am. So, Matthew 13:10 through 17. This is what I want people to understand. If you are a Christian, if you are a Christian in Uranus, meaning that you are rebelling against the system, I want you to understand something when I say that the Bible is not meant to be taken literally. People will tell you, because as a metaphysician, I love the Bible because I know it's a spell. It's a book of spells. If you a witch, the Bible is your shit. Understand that. Now, they'll tell you that the Bible, the word says what it says. Oh, yeah? Well, let's look at Matthew 13:10. Let me put it up here. Let me see. Can y'all see that? I think that you can. Let me show you this. The disciples asked Jesus, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" Jesus speaks in parables? Jesus is a Shakespearean? Do y'all remember literature class? Now, hey, whether or not, however far the extent of your education went, everybody has heard of Shakespeare. Everybody has, in some way, shape, or form, been exposed to that form of English. Right? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm almost fresh out of college, And I didn't know nothing that man was talking about. Wherefore art thou in thou's truest and truest and bluest form? Brother, just say what you gotta say, baby. But Jesus spoke in the exact same way. That's how we are able to pick apart the Bible, not cherry pick the Bible. We are picking apart the Bible. That's how we speak the language. See, we speak a language. That's why you guys are here. Right? You guys, this is your tribe. When I say 33 in Jesus, what do you instantly think about? Your Kundalini energy. You think about your pineal gland. You think about Christ as a state of consciousness. You think of Christ as the I am. Because Psalm 82, what is it, 82:2? 82:6? Oh my Lord Jesus. I used to know it. Psalms 82, somewhere in that chapter, God says that ye are gods. God also says that I am within. The I am is within. But to be without is to be considered mentally ill. You are the I will. I will find a way to reconnect to the source and vibrate. Right? Jesus speaks to people in parables because he says, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom. Now, when I talk about the occult, the etymology of occult means hidden, hidden as in secrets, secrets as in esotericism. People ask me, what book can I read to get this knowledge? As far as I know, there's no books on this. The language that we speak is as a result of unlocking our DNA codes, of doing the work to break the narcissistic spell on our consciousness. Because everything is within, just like our Akashic records. But let me not dive in too much on that. Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. This is the spiritual luxury that comes when you break the narcissistic spell of the 3D. When you stop polarizing your consciousness, when you stop equating money to evil and evil to riches, when you stop thinking in terms of good and bad, when you stop thinking that the man is any different from the woman, when you stop thinking white is less or more than, it's opposite. When you break the spell of the 3D, everything becomes a part of the one consciousness. You understand all of it. You even understand the necessary evils of the narcissist. And I break down the etymology or the metaphysical linguistics of evil in other videos. But just know that evil is just darkness, the darkness of the womb, the 0 point of creation that they demonized so that they can birth and sustain the patriarchy. Whoever does not have even what they will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. He don't want you to just understand it. It's not meant for people to just understand these things. You have to be on frequency. You have to be in alignment. Understand this. There were 12 disciples. They each represented an aspect of the zodiac, which is all within you. That's in your energetic blueprint. Jesus was the 13th, and the number 13 we know is the divine feminine. So when you fully integrate, when you fully seek God through self-mastery, the I am that is within you, nothing external. We're not talking about no sky daddy. I don't mean to offend anybody. If you saw the word Rev and Sahaja and you thought you was going to church today, today you are in church. You live in church every day. Okay. This is a language. You have to be in alignment to understand it. And it says, if you go all the way down to verse 15, for this people's heart has become calloused and they hardly hear with their ears. Now, we all know what calluses is. I used to play basketball for 10 years. Calluses. When you weightlifting, I went from basketball to weightlifting. Had to start getting gloves because don't know what you gonna do with them little hard things on your fingers. So when we talk about calluses, we're talking about densification. We're talking about calcification, and how this relates to mental illness is the effect it has on your pineal gland. When you are disconnected, your pineal gland, people say that it becomes calcified, it becomes densified. You ever seen a person or a car that was heavily loaded and it started tilting back, or it might tilt to the side? Well, that's what happens to your pineal gland when it becomes calcified. Bars. All right. Now, the next scripture, this is the one, that's going to do it, because remember I said I related mental illness to the 72 pillars of consciousness, which are also the 72 demons in Gnosticism. This is an occult science. 72 is not no woo-woo. Okay? We're not talking about no spirits. We're not talking about being possessed by something that's not you. None of that. Check this out. Jesus sent 72 disciples to the city. He wanted them to prep the people for the work, get them ready to receive. The 72 disciples are the introduction to all of my videos. I take the first 5 to 15 minutes to kind of explain, prepare you for what I'm about to hit you with. Understand? Now, when he sent them out, they came back and they told him, Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. The demons submit to the 72. Now, what does this mean? Because in the video, I explain the metaphysics of mind control. The entities that Christians think are the spirit of lust, the spirit of jealousy, the spirit of this, the spirit of that. What do you think the spirit is coming from? It's yours. You have an army within you. You are the commanding officer of that army. But when you are not aware of that and you become anchored, which means that you are densified into matter, your cells can't receive those light codes. You can't radiate and connect your external and internal worlds. This affects your magnetization, which then affects your frequency, which affects your money, your relationships, the people that you meet. It causes a disharmony with the I am, and you start thinking in terms of the I will. You go into that state of lack. This is how the narcissistic spell is casted. Narcissism is a frequency. When I say spell, and we know that vowels are interchangeable, letters are interchangeable, spell is also spill. That frequency spills over into you through the cracks in your aura. Because you don't have the internal structure to sustain your biofield because you're vibrating low. This is what we consider low vibrations. Low vibrations is just density. Jesus walking on water meant that he was hollow. His heart was light as a feather, so they say. But when you are dense and disconnected, you ain't walking on no water. You sinking. Now, as we get in water, we might not walk, but we float automatically. How do you float? You are still. You're not in chaos. You are the peace that calms the waters so that you can float and breathe. So we live in a space we default, when we incarnate here, we default to kind of an in-between, so to speak. Okay? Now, the reason I brought that up is because narcissism has many different forms. It expresses itself in many different ways. It expresses itself, the number one way that we associate narcissism is as demons. We call them demons. Those of us who have been in relationships with narcissists, you know what I mean? A demon. This is something that has no life force. It is a vacuum. It is heavy. It's dense. You can feel it. You can feel it pulling on you. And when you cohabitate with it, then it intercepts your biofield. And then you become entangled with it. Quantum entanglement, this off topic, but quantum entanglement is when two particles are affected by each other when there is no locality. I don't have to be near you. You don't have to be near me. We divorced. I done moved to South Africa. You in India. But everything that happens to you still affects me. That's the quantum entanglement. That is why you need to learn the art, the science of narcissistic spell breaking. Okay? Just want to throw that in there. But they show up as demons. That's the spiritual aspect of the narcissist, or how we describe him. Then, when you entangle yourself with this narcissist so long, when you become the food, when you sustain the narcissist by letting it feed on you, it becomes a parasite. Now, this is pure science. Because if you look at a parasite under a microscope, what does it look like? Put a pin in it, go Google. They look like demons. Or what we would think demons appear as. But they are draining you of your life force. And without you, they can't exist. That's key. You control your army. And because the narcissist is dependent on you, you control its army too. I'm going to tell you why this is significant. Because the third way that the narcissist appears, see, we weren't even talking about people initially. Remember, I said narcissism is a frequency. Narcissism, after it forms in your body on a microscopic level, these demons have their own minds. You power them too. If you hear people talking about veganism and alkaline diets and they talk about your stomach growling, that's that beast, that's that parasite. Yeah, same thing. Different area of life. But even that, and that's still within you. Spiritually, the demons are the unseen. Then they formate into the body, which can only be seen microscopically, but it's still internal, it's still inside you. Then they project in the 3D as the form of a handler, which is what we call our husband, wives, mama, daddy. The demon found a host to manipulate and get to you so that they can unguard you the most. Because remember, When you become more dense, when you vibrate on a lower frequency, then it weakens your biofield, and through those cracks, the narcissistic spell spills in. Okay? Now, the traumatic effect of that, because mental illness is associated with trauma. Narcissism gives you PTSD. The side effect of that is that the trauma then goes on to affect you epigenetically. Now it's in your bloodstream. Now the blood that makes the sperm cells and sustains the eggs in the womb space is carrying this frequency. That's what a generational curse really is, especially as it relates to your money. By the way, if you want to learn the metaphysics of breaking this spell to turn your pain into profit, to turn your trauma into commas, to turn your impact into income, then you need to book a soul mapping session. Or you might just need to go straight on to the private coaching through the Sahaja method. This is the wealth code, y'all. We're not here to just heal from narcissism. We're here to be compensated for our wrongful convictions because of the time we put in. A lot of my clients, they were in this spell for 10, 20. One of my clients was with 27 years. You was locked up for 27 years. Where your money at for that? You need to sue somebody. But the Sahaja method, that's where it's at. Make sure y'all check that out at revsahaja.com. Now, the 72 demons are also significant because remember, I told you that the 72 is an occultic number. Remember, it is the 9. This is why we are also tying this in. It's also associated with the feminine, the divine feminine. That 9 is the destruction, is the deconstruction. It is the collapse that must take place before the rebirth, the crucifixion, since we're talking about Jesus. Now, Genesis 10 talks about the 72 nations. You have the 72 angels and demons. You have the 72 names of God. It's all the same thing. But taking it back to the 72 angels, we're talking about angles. Because remember, we feed off of light codes. We are plants. We are reflections of the earth. We photosynthesize. They just don't tell us that. We photosynthesize. Because when those light codes hits our external melanin, it stimulates the neuromelanin, which everybody has. Remember, collective consciousness, whiteness is black. I have another video on that. When our neuromelanin is stimulated, then those light codes become food, and it tells our body how to process information. This is what unlocks the DNA, the junk DNA. Okay? This is what gives you your superpowers, or so we say. So, the significance of this is that now instead of talking about 72 angels or demons, we are talking about 72 degrees, which is an angle of incidence that's necessary for us to maintain a certain level of consciousness or maintain coherence within a certain level of consciousness. Let me explain. Now, remember we are talking about the divine feminine. The divine feminine and the love frequency, the heart chakra, and the planet Venus, and your boy Jesus are all one and the same. Okay? It's all one and the same. These are just different personifications of the frequency. Because what happens is when you integrate your shadows, whenever you are traumatized, then you have your consciousness is split into two forms, the ego and the shadow. Now, Carl Jung talks about this information. If y'all need to hear it from somebody with a license in psychology who can actually tell you to get off of your meds, then go look at Carl Jung. But as explained, the split creates the ego and the shadow. The ego is the way that you show up because it's how you feel that you will be best received. But it is a performance because the true you is hidden. It's the shadow self. Okay? This shadow self, once it is integrated, this is the shadow work that we're doing. And the shadow isn't just about you, it's also about your ancestry. So, part of the soul mapping experience is we are unlocking the ancestral shadows that we are still carrying in this realm, in this lifetime, as our baggages that are blocking our money. Because the reason why the heart chakra is green is when you integrate the two and you become balanced, that heart chakra being the biggest energy center, it is what generates your biofield. The strength of your heart, the coherence of your heart, the clarity, the lightness of the feather of your heart is what strengthens your biofield, your aura. This is your protection spell. Those of you who have not seen my last video on the only protection spell you need, this is what I'm breaking down. So that heart coherence, with the heart being green, and we know that energy is currency. Currency is money, the currency, which means that you are a bank, which means that your energy through your aura field is what magnetizes to you. The same way that this narcissist materializes in different forms, spiritual as the demon, internally as the unseen parasite, and externally as the handlers or the toxic relationships in your life, is the same way that your heart coherence, the frequency that you emit when you have fully integrated, when you have fully redeemed yourself of sin, it radiates outwardly and it magnetizes to you physically in the form of money. Understand this. Understand this. Every form of labor is an aspect of slavery. We're not here for that. You are here to get paid to breathe. Understand me. Do you hear me? You are here to be compensated. Earth is the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was fully stocked. You didn't have to labor for anything. You didn't have to do anything. Everything was always stored, replenished. There was no lack. That was luxury. The kingdom of heaven. But the kingdom of heaven is in the mind. So when you have this coherence, then you can project before you through your imagination, because part of integrating that shadow integrates your inner child. This is what we talk about in Metaphysical Healing 101. Those of you who are in the matriarch circle know what I'm talking about. When you integrate that inner child and you start acting out the desires of that child's heart, oh, the soul loved that baby. Oh, You talking about the windows of heaven opening and an overflow of blessings falling into your lap. Don't get stuck on the word blessing. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? When we have that coherence, that means that we are reconnecting with the divine feminine. This is the idea behind the divine feminine movement. It's not so much about decentering men, it's about recentering yourself. Because you are Venus. Remember, this is all a part of reaching Christ consciousness. Because the Christ consciousness in Venus is the morning star. Remember? But Jesus is also Lucifer, who's the morning star as well, which is how we can say that narcissism is the necessary evil that is intended to reconnect you to the divine feminine or just your spirit. Okay? Because what Venus does every 8 years is Venus meets with the earth at different points. And where those points meet, if you were to draw a line to connect each vertice, becomes a star. Remember morning star? This is the morning star, for real, for real. Now, each of those vertices are, guess how many degrees? 72. Because there are 360 degrees of knowledge above, 360 degrees of knowledge below. And when you divide that into 5 dimensions, this is why we talk about 3D to 5D splits, because there are 5 realms, 5 dimensions of consciousness. Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. Islam, I, self, law, am master. Earth, air, water, fire, spirit. Okay? Because when you look at this image, this is you. The elements are your extremities. The head is the spirit. Now, that circle symbolizes the womb. This is your 360 degrees of knowledge times 2. So, what's happening here is, I'm going to show y'all. Let me see if I can put this. Can I put this on the screen? I can. Hold on a second, y'all. I want to show y'all something. I'm going to show y'all what that looks like. I'm going to show y'all exactly what that looks like. This is Venus. Hold on. I don't think y'all can see it. I don't think y'all can see it. Can we see this? I don't feel confident that it is on the screen. But in the event that it is, this is Venus over a period of 8 years. All of those internal, they call this the rows, but these internal points that are close to the sun, there are 5 of them. When you connect them, you get a pentagram. You get a pentagram. Now, With that being said, right? This is why they took us from the plantation, from the plant, because they understood a little too late that us receiving these light codes from the cosmos was unlocking our DNA. Notice how they love to keep us in these buildings. They want us, they accentuate the weave, the unnatural aspect of the lost Black woman. Not the Black woman that's doing it because she don't feel like doing a head of day, but the Black woman that has to do it because she's not connected to herself anyway. Because they want us to stop receiving these codes. They don't want us to awaken. Okay? Now, the 72 degrees, getting back to the 72, I said that to show you how 72 is connected to the divine feminine through you. Because if you are the pentagram, then that means you are the morning star, which also means that you are Jesus. But the way that this reflects on mental health, especially when we are talking about these diagnoses and them being a narcissistic spell, is the light at 72 degrees, which is an angle of incidence, when your pineal gland, which is a crystal, when it densifies, when it becomes cloudy, when it calcifies, as some of us prefer to explain it, it tilts, it becomes heavy. It can't hold the lightness of the energy. So when it tilts at the 72 degrees, which means it's beyond the critical angle, this is physics. I'm talking physics, y'all. This is a physics thing. This is the law of reflection. There is an occurrence that takes place that is called the total internal reflection, which means instead of you radiating outwardly, you are projecting your movie into the physical realm to experience the things that you want to see. That mirrors internally. This creates chaos because now the light is bouncing like a pinball. Y'all remember playing pinball machines? This is what the light is doing. It's just beaming off of everything. It has no clear direction. Venus has clarity. Venus moves strategically, right? Everything has order. But that when that order becomes chaotic, meaning there is no structure, there is no commanding officer at the seat of the throne. If anyone has ever seen the movie Insidious, do you remember when they walk into that realm of the dead? They have to be careful when they come back because they can bring those entities back through with them. In hoodoo culture, when you come home late at night, when the veil is thinned between dimensions, some of us practice walking backwards on our way in because you don't want those entities. This is the same thing happening with your consciousness through your pineal gland. So when we talk about the 72 demons or the 72 pillars, we are talking about gateways, astral gateways. Now, all of this is you. Again, it's either a parasite that's causing this or some form of trauma that's happened. Either way, there are cracks in your aura, which is your protective shield. I'm going to say that again. The better you integrate, I'm not going to say the better, but the more sustainable your integration, the more you have control over these 72 nations. So what happens is these entities, they come forward because the light is bouncing inside. The light is not outside. If the light is projecting, think of being at the movie theater, right? You're at a movie theater. The projector is hitting the screen so you can see the film. Everybody, eyes forward. But when the projector shifts, or if it hits at a certain angle and the light doesn't come through, but it's for some reason reflects to the back wall within the studio where they entered the film to show the movie, what is the people going to do? What are the people going to do in the audience? They're going to turn and look up at that little hole with the projector. So that light that is only radiating in here due to total internal reflection because your pineal gland has become too dense and the light, it can't hold the light or receive the light at the same angle or the necessary angle. That light reflects backwards. So now it looks like to these entities, you know how they say when you cross over, you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Don't go to the light at the end of the tunnel. This becomes the light at the end of the tunnel. So all those entities are looking, all those different versions of you, whether they're benevolent or malevolent, they're looking because they were in the dark. Now they see light. Of course, they're going to follow that light. You don't know that this is happening because you're disconnected due to some form of tragedy. So now they're fighting for the throne inside your internal space, your internal reality. So remember in this movie, Insidious, in order for them to confront these demons, they had to do so from the astral realm. Somebody asked me, how do you deal with this? How do you manage it? One is make sure you do a detox, some sort of cleanse, because it could very well be as simple as a parasite. Could just be something parasitic. Don't underestimate the power. I hate when people say, you give narcissism too much power. That's because you don't understand what narcissism is. Narcissist holds the numerological value similar to Jesus, the 33. Narcissism is the 33 again, but it's inverted, which means it is a form of intelligence. Regardless of your experience with it, it doesn't negate the fact of what we're really dealing with. So now that we know this, we are better equipped to confront it. So if your situation is more complex, then you're going to have to do some very high level spiritual work in order to confront that, to send them back to their rightful places and get in the seat of the throne and control your own army, your own spaceship. Okay? Now, what is happening here? When we talk about the third eye opening, your third eye is always open. You come here by default in the gray. Now, due to trauma, because some people talk about not being able to dream, everybody dreams. Trauma is what densifies you in such a way that you don't remember the dreams. You just remember the darkness of sleep. And you don't even remember that. It's really like a switch cut off and cut back on in the morning. But everybody dreams. This is your pineal gland. Your crown chakra is your ability to receive. That's your auric field. But what happens is when your third eye is open but not activated, then you run the risk of experiencing situations and being categorized in the likeness of what psychology calls schizophrenic. We have to normalize our spiritual experiences. We are not crazy. We are activating. When you activate, then you regain coherence. Activation is integration. Enough said. Enough said. No, it's not linear at all, by any means. I am not saying that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step and then you done process. No, you have to go through self-mastery. You have to understand yourself. You have to understand yourself. All that I can do is give you tools and walk with you on that journey. Tell you what is happening spiritually that's affecting you internally or externally. Because the goal is for you to heal, repatch, rejuvenate, rebirth those fragments in your aura. Strengthen your biofield so that you can magnetize your frequency, your energy, your currency, so that you can get out of hell. Because remember, money is moon E. Moon, water-based currency. These are your emotions, your trauma. This is why integrating that shadow is key. Because you came here to be rewarded. You are the money. So you have to figure out how to master the blockages to transmute that money into your bank account. And those of you who are on that path, those of you who want to become your reparations, because you know the power that you hold, you know what you came here to create. And when you are ready to unlock that code, rewire your neural pathways, and magnetize your coherence into money so that you can exit the atrocities of the 3D, then go ahead and book your soul mapping. Go ahead and look into the Sahaja method. Or if you just need clarity, then join the Matriarch Circle Healing Community. And that's all for now, y'all. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to share this with y'all's tribe. Peace, love, wellness, and divine knowledge. Until next time.
Sundays with Sahaja is brought to you by Rev Sahaja. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and become a subscriber. For courses, books, community, private sessions, or to invite me to speak, visit RevSahaja.com and connect with me on my other platforms. And above all, live well and stay young.